Wildcat fans, welcome back. Once again, another coach's show here this week with our very own head coach, Justin Charles. I'm Brad Welburn, as we talk some more football once again on this Thursday. And Coach, it's like we talked about last week. We got a lot to get to. We got Belhaven this week and all that sort of stuff as we get down towards the end of the season. But in a rivalry game like you had last week against ETBU, it's one of those things where we can throw records out, we can do all that sort of stuff, but it's also one of those kind of games where if one team can get some momentum early, then things can kind of really stay in their favor throughout the entire game. And ETBU found some momentum early. We had a couple unfortunate turnovers there in the first half that kind of, I think, got the ball rolling a little bit for them.
Oh, yeah.
And they were able to kind of take advantage of that through the rest of the game. So do you think that was a big part of it, or was it some other factors that contributed to how the game turned out?
Oh, yeah, definitely. When you play a game like this against a rival game, man, you give the ball to your opponent, your rival, they're going to take advantage of it no matter what, because they're preparing for that too, And so we just came out and made some mistakes mentally and physically. It was some things that was kind of out of our realm that we did mentally, made some mistakes. But I think each of you did a good job capitalizing on those mistakes. So whenever you're playing a game against your rival, you better be on cue, especially early. And so that's what happened early in the game. We turned the ball over 3 times right there within the first 5 minutes, and it was it was a battle from there. When you're playing an uphill battle against a rival that's looking to beat you pretty good, whenever they get the opportunity to, they're going to do it. So
yeah, when you have to come back on the road, it was
right.
a long day for you guys. I mean, I think it's just kind of snowballed, and I think they really maybe kind of hit ahead there in that it seemed like 2.5 to 4 hour third quarter that was just just seemed like to go on forever. Both teams made some plays,
right?
But unfortunately, ETBU made a few more plays in that third quarter that kind of sealed the deal. But you can look at a positive thing for sure, and you talked about it after the game with Al in the interview. Never quit.
No.
Guys never gave up.
No.
They continued to battle, and I know that's got to be at least one of the things that you were most happy about.
Oh yeah, I'm always proud of my kids when they come back and they fight hard, and we fought hard those last 2 quarters. Finished the game, and we came up short again. But it is what it is when it comes to that. But that's us fixing those errors early and trying to minimize those mental mistakes.
So talk about some of the other things you did see. You guys got another pick six. Julius, a very talented freshman, got the 75-yard pick six, and so certainly there was some other bright spots throughout the game that you noticed that you can definitely build toward as early as this week.
Right. We had, obviously the Julius Johnson pick six. He's been playing well all year, tackling very well and playing good in open space. You look at a guy like Riley DiMaggio that just, once he gets going, he's a really good player. And so I believe he had 2 touchdown catches. You think of a kid, Wayne came in there and gave us a little bit of spark right there in the second half, which is good. And then defensively, that defensive line did a good job as far as getting pressure on that quarterback, man. And that quarterback was very good. And so you think of Brandon Zimmer, who had quite a few sacks in that game, and Jesse Provost and Cade Maxwell always being in the backfield as much as they possibly can, having that quarterback scramble a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they threw the ball a lot, but like you said, I mean, it's been one of the things that has been a staple throughout the entire year, is that the defense being able to kind of get to the quarterback and get some pressure on him. Just unfortunately this week, I mean, Brian Baca, who would have saw that coming?
Right,
The guy came out and had a out of his mind day, and it's just kind of one of those things.
Kudos to that kid, man.
Yeah,
he came out and had a great game. So.
All right, well, we can move on. We can talk about a lot of the things from that game, but let's move forward. As you do, you get another chance to go out on Saturday, and you guys are headed out to Belhaven Saturday evening, 6 o'clock over there in Jackson. So kind of an interesting matchup. Certainly a game I know we feel like we have a really good opportunity here to make some noise and play well. Belhaven, no secret about what they're going to try to do. They're going to put the ball in the air and hope that you can defend it. Fortunate for us, we have some top flight corners and secondary, especially on the outside corner, Willie and Doriel, that can really put you in a good spot.
Right. You know, those guys, you know, Hal Mummy, the head coach, does a great job with their offense, and they always have something prepared for each team. You know, we've kind of figured that out watching them week by week. They, you know, last week against Mary Hardin Baylor, they did a really good job as far as trying to get certain things done on offense. But, you know, they do a good job in the air. But I just remember going into last year's game, they came out and they ran the ball on us early, and it kind of shocked us. And so we're preparing for it. We tell those guys every day, expect the unexpected against these guys. But their quarterbacks are very good. They have two guys that they're playing right now, the number 17 and number 2. Those two guys are playing very well. Their offensive line is actually a really good, aggressive team up front. You know, they don't have the receivers that they've had in the past, but these guys are just sound type players. They run good routes. They catch the ball when the ball's thrown to them, and it's just a pretty sound offense. And you know, defensively they do some different things. You know, week by week they're pretty consistent on what they do, and so that's what you got to do on defense. Period. And so these guys they're going to come in prepared, and you know, it's their homecoming, and so they're going to come out with some energy, come out with some fire under their back end, and so we've got to make sure that we come out with that same type of energy early and don't do what we did last weekend as far as giving the ball to the opponent.
Right. And it's also one of the things, I mean, I just got finished looking at some of their numbers. It's not, and you mentioned like they don't have that top receiver like they've had in the past, but it's a whole group of guys.
Right.
Similar kind of to what we have. I mean, we have Shed and Leandre who can, you know, big play kind of guys, but a lot of different guys that they try to get the ball to on any play.
Yeah, they've got, I want to say there's about 6 guys that are right there in anywhere between a 32 catch range and a 16 catch range, you know, and so that's a good job as far as spreading the ball out. And then they're running backs. It's a running back by committee, game by game, but you know, I forget the kid's name, but it's 36, and they've got 19 that get in there, and then 37, and those guys get in there, and they're physical runners, and they catch the ball very well out of the backfield. So,
talk about our offensive approach this week. I mean, we mentioned that you brought Wayne in the second half of last week's game. Was that just DeAndre was kind of having an off day, and you wanted to kind of, like you said, bring a little spark for the second half? So, what's the plan there? I mean, where are we sitting at?
You know, it's been a battle all year with those guys, you know, and so you know, we were, again, like you just said, we were looking for a spark right there in the second half, and I think Wayne just gave us a different look, different aspect, and so this week they're just battling it out again, and honestly, we won't know until game time, you know, because those two guys are so competitive with each other, and they play well with each other, so we're just going to make sure that when we get into the game, whoever's the better guy at that moment, we're going to go with that guy, and that doesn't mean that guy's going to be the guy for the whole game, you know, so. Again, it's going to be just a competition, a good battle for those two guys to come in and compete. And
talk about, you know, we talked about the running game the past few weeks. Aaron's had, you know, he had the 171 yards a couple weeks ago, almost got over 100 last week as well. So it seems like the running game and the offensive line have certainly at least like found their stride, found what they're trying to accomplish throughout the game. So, and I know that's a big part of being able to start fast like we've talked about. So, I mean, I assume that's another key for this game.
Oh, yeah. You know, I think we've got to start leaning on our offensive line more. You know, we're older up front. We're very physical up front. And those guys have been executing for the most part all year. You know, and we've got to start leaning on those guys a little bit more because those are the guys that are really opening up the gaps for the Aaron Woods and for DeAndre to pull the ball and be able to run out there on the edge or even in the middle. But we've got to lean on those guys more in our running game and in our passing game as well. But in the running game, those guys are making it happen. Yeah. And so, you know, just hats off to those guys consistently for doing that. So, yeah, we do want to open up our run game more this week. Offensively, I think we're going to just – as long as we do what we're coached to do and we continue to coach them to do what they're supposed to do, but we're just going to take what the defense gives us this week.
Yeah. Now, I guess the last question here, I mean, this week, obviously, you take one game at a time, as you always do. You have Belhaven, but looming is not only the last home game of the season. Next week, you have Mary Hardin Baylor, #1 team, defending national champions and everything. And with the way the season has gone, is it a little bit easier to say, hey, guys, we have to stay locked in on Belhaven and just let's worry about those guys whenever that time comes? So with the way the season's gone, has it been easier to get them to focus in on Belhaven? Yeah,
I mean, it's always all year. Our guys done a great job as far as focusing on the opponent that's in front of us, and that's a part of a thing that we're trying to get to and get that mindset of, hey, it doesn't matter who's lined up against you. This is who you're playing, and so we've got to execute against who we're playing against. And obviously, like you said, Mary Hardin-Baylor's coming in. They're going to be the best team in the country when they get here. Which, hey, that's who you want to play. Yeah. You want to play the best teams in the country, and so let's see what we got when we get there or when they get here. Yeah. And after that, we have Howard Payne, so we'll finish on the road. But again, we're going to finish strong with these seniors, and we're going to play who we play this week.
Yep.
So.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. This Saturday night in Jackson, Mississippi, you can check the game. The Belhaven will be providing some live coverage via stats and video. Also, Rich Dupree and the crew will be there for the bridge. You can listen to that on 104.3 FM, or you can listen online at 104.3thebridge.net. All those links will be available in one convenient location at lcwildcats.net. Just go ahead and add that site to your favorites, your bookmarks. Hey, make it your homepage if you want to stay up to date on all LC athletics. But all that will be available to you for this weekend. And we're looking forward to coming back, playing one more game here next week against the crew. So, Coach, as always, a pleasure. Thanks for joining me. I'm Brad Welburn. We'll see you next week.